In this lesson, we're going to be talking about protecting ourselves against fraud. And then basically, we're going to be talking about identity theft, which is such a huge problem that we have today um, because of technology, really. And so, we're going to be talking about that throughout this lesson. What is fraud? Fraud is an intentional effort to deceive another individual for personal gain. This can happen through arrests for crimes not committed, damaged financial security, tarnished credit reports, and also compromised health. So, all of these things could happen because of fraud. So, what are some common types of fraud? The first one is identity theft, and this is when you're using another person's information without their permission. Okay. Other types of fraud occur via mass marketing, mail, wire, telephone, internet, etc. And this is really to deceitfully get money out from people. And you see this a lot with like phones, cell phones anymore. It's like they might call and demand money from you, and typically that's fraud. Identity theft is the largest consumer fraud complaint reported to the Federal Trade Commission in 2010. And I'm fairly certain those numbers are still accurate. So, how can fraud affect you? It can affect your credit. So, if someone uses your identity to apply for credit, and then they can apply for and modify credit, and most commonly involves like mortgages. Investment fraud. This is when investors are deceived by individuals claiming to be financial advisors, and have an investment guaranteed to make money. And then tax fraud is another type of fraud where scammers making claims that a person may be exempt from paying taxes. Do you think about someone you may know that's been a victim of fraud? So, how does fraud negatively impact your financial well being? It causes stress, it costs money, anxiety, time. These are all just some of the small things that happen when you get when you're deceived by fraud. So, we're actually going to skip through Lucy just because, well, we don't need to do this. We'll be working on stuff like this in class. Well, how does fraud occur? Failed promises and accessing personal information are the biggest reasons why fraud occurs. And some of the personal information that they want from you is your bank account numbers, your name, your address and telephone numbers, your social security number, your driver's license number, your birth date, or credit card numbers. These are all things that people who are committing fraud want from you. So, personal information. Um, just think about the personal information that you have in your purses, your wallets, and your backpack. Some of you guys probably have a driver's license, a debit or credit card, electronic devices, and identification cards. These are all ways that people can get information from you. So, how do thieves access your personal information? They can steal your purse, wallet, financial records, mail, etc. They can divert your mail, which means to change the address on your mail to go somewhere else. Skimming credit card and debit card information, phishing for personal information via email, and hacking a computer to install spyware. These are all ways that thieves can access your personal information. So, how do you protect yourself from fraud? You are better off in a community than by yourself. So, the government creates and manages agencies designed to protect you against fraud, but you're also responsible for yourself. So, the best way to avoid fraud is to be alert to the risk of and protect yourself. So, ways to protect your personal information. Don't carry your social security card. Sign your credit and debit cards to say CID. Memorize and use difficult PIN numbers. Shred personal documents before discarding them. Keep personal records in a secure location, and deposit outgoing mail in a secure post office collection box. And be careful of what personal information is posted online. So, ways to kind of help you monitor fraud and make sure that you're not a victim is check your credit reports um, regularly, and then make sure that you immediately dispute errors. Evaluate situations, so verify sources requesting information, and monitor financial information. Consistently monitor information such as credit statements, depository institution statements, and etc. Be careful when you're using the internet. Make sure that you look for the HTTPS, or there's a lock on your address bar. Keep usernames and passwords safe. Use a credit card when making online purchases. Search for your name. Once information is posted online, it cannot be taken back. And then also use privacy settings on social media or social networking sites. So, how do you practice electronic device safety? Use up to date antivirus and anti spyware software. Watch for strange actions that may indicate spyware. And do not click on links found in pop up advertisements or suspicious emails. So, debit and credit cards and how to protect yourself against those with those. Um, Credit cards maximum liability is $50. There's no liability if the lost card is reported before fraudulent use, and no liability if the card number is used but not the card itself. Debit cards. Liability depends on how quickly the card is reported in depository institution policies. It can be anywhere from 0 to unlimited. Always use a credit card instead of a debit card when you make online purchases. So we're gonna skip through this one. Well, Lucy. So fraud protection services, there's companies that offer various types of services, and these include fraud monitoring and detection, cost recovery if fraud occurs, legal counsel if fraud occurs, and then you are your best advocate. So make sure that you are closely watching your credit card statements, your bills, and also your reports. And then make sure that you evaluate services to know what is covered, fees, and company reputation. You don't want to just pick any service. Recognize fraud early. Act immediately if a business that has taken your money won't return your calls. Unfamiliar, unrecognizable charges. You are denied credit. Mail is missing, or errors in your credit report. If you're a victim, act immediately. Keep detailed records. File a report with your local law enforcement and report to a federal agency. The Stop Fraud website will tell you which agency to report to and provide specific tips depending on the type of fraud. Common government protection agencies, the Federal Trade Commission prevents business practices that are anti-competitive, deceptive, or unfair to consumers. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau makes markets for consumer products and services for Americans. Federal Drug Administration protects against protects the public health, and the Federal Communications Commission regulates interstate and international communication. U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission protects investors and maintains fair and orderly and efficient financial markets. The Internal Revenue Service enforces tax law. And then the Federal Bureau of Investigation protects the United States and its citizens. Okay.